Once the smirking cowboy in Die Hard, now a quiet figure shaped by time's sculpting hands. Bruce Willis, 70, traded action-packed chaos for peace. His hair thinned, jaw softened, eyes still sharp with depth. These days, he steps back from the spotlight, living each day with silent strength. Remember the brooding cool of The Outsiders? Matt Dillon, now 61, no longer sprints through scenes, he strolls. The chiseled features have mellowed, the wild hair now tamed with silver strands. Off-screen, his rhythm is slowed, but the storyteller within still burns steady and bright. Like an old Polaroid, The Breakfast Club's Emilio Estevez holds a faded charm, familiar yet changed. At 63, his once boyish frame carries the gravity of time, face lined, smile quieter. Though he dodges the limelight, behind the camera he directs with purpose and clarity. Once a shirtless rapper draped in Calvin Klein, Mark Wahlberg now favors tailored suits and quiet strength. The once fiery glare has softened, his jawline less defiant, more defined. Though his biceps still pop, he swapped club lights for family life and faith, a producer's eye replacing the rebel's scowl. Jet engines once echoed his youth as Maverick. Now at 62, Tom Cruise commands the skies with silver-streak hair and weathered focus. His grin remains, but it carries grit earned from decades of stunts and solitude. He still runs on screen, but off, his life is a quieter mission. Captain Jack's swagger once defined him, all eyeliner and mischief. At 61, Johnny Depp wears time like a faded velvet coat. His eyes heavier, voice deeper, hands more at home with a paintbrush or guitar. Less Hollywood pirate now, more Parisian recluse wrapped in mystery and vintage rings. He danced through Dirty Dancing and fought through Roadhouse, a symbol of fire and grace. Patrick Swayze left us in 2009, but his spirit lingers, etched in every spin, punch, and soft smile. Time could not dim what he gave, a legacy bold, tender, and beautifully unforgotten. From Lethal Weapon's explosive grit to a seasoned director's gaze, Mel Gibson at 69 carries battles etched in his face. The once slick rebel now wears silver stubble and wary eyes. He crafts epics more than headlines, trading fury for depth behind and beyond the camera lens. Once the sharp-tongued ace in Top Gun, now a softer voice behind weary eyes. At 65, Val Kilmer bears the marks of survival. Throat surgery reshaped his speech, but not his soul. He paints, writes, and appears when moved, letting silence speak where once words flew like fire. He once surfed through rom-com shirtless and sun-kissed. Now, Matthew McConaughey leans into wisdom with lined eyes and a slow, deliberate drawl. His tousled hair is streaked with gold and gray, his energy calmer, more philosopher than flirt, trading red carpets for campfires and causes. From Bad Boy and Heathers to a man with seasoned poise, Christian Slater's rebel smirk lingers beneath crow's feet and calm eyes. Once chaos in a leather jacket, now a narrator of quiet tension. His voice, deeper, darker, has become his signature, echoing on screen and off. He once strode into scenes with fierce precision. Today, Denzel Washington walks with gravitas shaped by legacy. His hair is cropped with gray steel, his gaze sharper than ever. No longer the rising hero, now the master statesman of cinema, both on screen and behind the camera. Like a well-worn tux, George Clooney has aged into quiet elegance. From ER's charming doc to silver-bearded statesman at 64, his jawline softened, voice deeper, laugh lines earned. He now balances activism and fatherhood, trading red carpets for olive groves in Lake Como. Before we continue these amazing celebrity transformations, here's a quick challenge for you. Can you subscribe to ThenVsNow Legends in the next 5 seconds? Smash that subscribe button and join us on this journey through time with your favorite stars. Beverly Hills 90210 made him the poster boy of moody cool. Luke Perry left us in 2019, but at every rerun, his smirk lives on. His final years saw a gentler presence, less teen idol, more guiding soul, gracing roles with quiet dignity that linger long after the credits roll. From the mythic swings of Field of Dreams to modern grit in Yellowstone, Kevin Costner at 70 carries a weathered nobility. His once boyish charm now carved with age, hair thinned, stance deliberate. Off-screen, he writes, strums, and steers stories with a rancher's resolve. Once the wild-eyed storm of face slash-off in Con Air, Nicolas Cage now wears his eccentricity like armor. Hair thinner, eyes deeper, presence quieter, but no less intense. The chaos is cooled, replaced by an artist's rhythm and a quiet devotion to unpredictable offbeat roles. With sword in hand, Aragorn led armies. Now Viggo Mortensen crafts poetry and directs with painterly patience. His rugged face is etched with thought, beard dusted in gray, eyes still burning with quiet conviction. He's less warrior now, more wandering scholar chasing truths beyond the screen. Martinis once in hand and tuxedo crisp, Pierce Brosnan embodied sleek danger. At 71, the Bond sheen is weathered into coastal calm, his voice gentler, silver hair flowing like sea mist. More canvas than Casino now. He paints in Hawaii, his legacy quietly glowing. He once blazed across screens in Train Spotting, raw and electric. Now 54, Ewan McGregor walks with poise, his youthful edge tempered by calm eyes and a trimmed salt beard. He still commands roles, but off-screen he leans into fatherhood, motorcycles, and quieter acts of craft. From brooding menace in The Usual Suspects to sage reflections at 75, Gabriel Byrne wears time like a long overcoat, heavy but dignified. His face, etched and thoughtful, now frames roles of wisdom. Off stage, he writes with soul, preferring the pen to the spotlight's burn. In the 80s, Eric Roberts burned bright with intensity in Runaway Train. At 69, his face tells stories his roles once shouted, lined, intense, and unapologetically lived in. Though rarely center stage now, he works steadily, lending gravity to every shadow he steps into. He once haunted screens as dark lords and tortured souls. Now Ralph Fiennes moves with sculpted calm, his sharp features softened by time. The menace remains in his gaze, but it's refined, wrapped in Shakespeare and subtlety. Less villainous now, more venerated, an actor's actor through and through. A Baldwin who once rode the wave of 90s cool, Stephen Baldwin now lives far from Hollywood spotlight. His youthful edge has settled into line conviction, hair grayer, presence quieter. Once a breakout in The Usual Suspects, today he chooses faith and family over fame. He strummed hearts in My Best Friend's Wedding with that crooked smile and brooding stare. Now at 61, Dermot Mulroney's charm carries texture, salted hair, deeper voice, eyes warmed by decades. Still acting, often quietly, his screen presence whispers rather than shouts, like a familiar melody. Split kicks and stone stares made him the Bloodsport legend. Now 64, Jean-Claude Van Damme still trains, though the muscles are leaner, the gaze more introspective. His once sculpted frame bears the grace of discipline, with a life now focused more on inner strength than screen combat. He once raced hearts in X-Men and rom-coms alike. At 51, James Marsden still beams with that boyish spark, but his jaw is firmer, his presence more refined. Hair flecked with silver, stride more measured. He toggles between leading man and mentor, always with quiet precision. The man who barely seems to age, yet at 56, Paul Rudd carries subtle shifts, a softer jawline, wiser smile, eyes that laugh slower. From Clueless to Ant-Man, he's evolved from charming sidekick to grounded star, balancing comedy with calm and Hollywood with humility. From genius janitor to action hero, Matt Damon once raced through frames with boyish grit. At 54, his frame is fuller, his face thoughtful, lined with purpose. The sharp Boston edge remains, but it's steadier now, an advocate, producer, father, choosing meaning over momentum. His voice once curled like smoke through every scene. Alan Rickman, the velvet menace of Die Hard and Harry Potter, left a legacy steeped in gravitas. Though gone since 2016, his presence lingers, forever crisp in memory, forever measured in pauses that said more than words. He He once drifted through the Big Lebowski in a robe and shades. Now at 75, Jeff Bridges is all beard, gravel, and soulful calm. Cancer and time carve new depth, but the dude's spirit remains. Easy kind worn in like denim. He paints, plays, and simply is. He once smoldered in Blade, a reckless fire on screen. Now 51, Steven Dorff wears time in his eyes. Less fury, more focus. His jaw is still sharp, hair touched by ash, presence more subdued. He acts selectively, often off-grid, preferring grit and shadows over glossy fame. From Fast Times Rebel to two-time Oscar force, Sean Penn at 64 carries storms in his stare. The surfer's slouch gave way to a worn resolve, creased brow, graying hair, gravel-voiced gravitas. Off-screen, he dives into activism, chasing justice with the same ferocity as any role. A phantom of film, Daniel Day-Lewis, 68, vanished at his peak. Once the chameleon of there will be blood, he now resides in stillness, long hair retreating, face sculpted by time's chisel. Though retired, his legend grows, haunting the craft like a myth only few dare chase. From punk anarchist to haunted spies, Gary Oldman once vanished into chaos. Now, at 67, he wears distinction like a well-cut coat. His face is fuller, his hair a silver crown, but that chameleon fire still flickers beneath the surface, quieter now, but just as consuming. He smoldered through the 2000s with brooding charisma. Now Clive Owen, at 60, is more restrained storm than rolling thunder. The hair's darker at the temples, but his voice carries more weight, his gaze more weathered. He walks less to seduce now, more to understand. Once the slick corporate predator in Wall Street, Michael Douglas now moves with stately ease, his hair ghost white, voice sanded by time. At 80, his sharp charm has mellowed, replaced by a sage calm. He mentors more than conquers, and still commands every frame. The warm voice of growing pains, Alan Thicke was every 80s dad, charming, steady, endlessly cool. When he passed in 2016, he left behind more than laughs, a legacy of wit, music, and grace. Though the sitcom ended long ago, his spirit still cues the theme in our hearts. From disco floors in Saturday Night Fever to sky-high charisma in Pulp Fiction, John Travolta now walks with a quieter poise at 71. The jet-black hair is gone, replaced by smooth polish and calm. He pilots planes and memories, a star who's embraced flight over flash. In A Fish Called Wanda, he was wild brilliance. At 77, Kevin Kline is refined elegance. The curls are snowy now, his frame more thoughtful, yet the wit still dances behind his eyes. He chooses roles with care, often stage-bound, where nuance thrives and noise fades. Pastel blazers and Miami Nights once defined Don Johnson. Now 75, his sun-kissed swagger is tempered by wisdom. The jawline's softened, hair silvered, but that southern cool still lingers. No longer chasing vice, he leans into legacy, blending old-school charm with a mentor's calm. He once ruled sitcoms and tabloids with manic magnetism. At 59, Charlie Sheen's edge is dulled but still cuts through. His face shows the years, voice raspier, gaze more reflective. Once a tiger on the loose, now quieter, more introspective, with chapters still unwritten. He skateboarded through time as Marty McFly. Now at 63, Michael J. Fox stands as a symbol of courage. Parkinson shaped his posture and voice, but his spark endures. The boyish grin remains worn, but undimmed, reminding us that heroes grow stronger, not just older. He towered as Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, a machine of muscle and menace. At 67, Dolph Lundgren moves with deliberate strength, his frame leaner, hair silvered, gaze wiser. Still active in film, he mixes action with reflection, a warrior reshaped by experience, not dulled by time. 24 made him the face of relentless resolve. Now 58, Kiefer Sutherland's edge has softened, but his presence cuts deeper. With weathered features and a slower stride, he strums country ballads off-screen, trading gunfire for guitars, still telling stories, just in a different key. From Fight Club's chaos to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's cool, Brad Pitt at 61 wears his fame with weary elegance. His golden hair dulled to ash, face lined like worn leather, smile more introspective. He now favors producing, sculpting stories with a craftsman's care. From Neo's trench coat to John Wick's relentless grace, Keanu Reeves, now 60, moves like a monk with scars. His jet-black hair is now flecked with ash, his silence more profound than ever. The action star became an enigma, gentle, private, and forever walking between worlds. Once the silver-maned heartthrob of Pretty Woman, Richard Gere at 75 radiates serenity. His boyish spark evolved into quiet dignity, hair now Snow White, smile softened by time. More activist than actor these days, he trades scripts for causes, choosing purpose over premieres. He once screamed into ocean winds as Jack Dawson. Now at 50, Leonardo DiCaprio carries that same fire beneath a fuller face and thoughtful eyes. The floppy-haired dreamboat became a serious force, off-screen too, where he fights for the planet more than golden statues. He was the swaggering anti-hero of Escape from New York. Now at 74, Kurt Russell exudes frontier wisdom. His hair, once wild and sun-bleached, now flows silver, his grin seasoned. He leans into legacy, often cast as the gruff guide, less gunslinger, more legend wrapped in flannel. From Indiana Jones to Blade Runner, Harrison Ford at 82 still commands the frame with a weathered magnetism. His stride slower, voice gravel thick, eyes steady as ever. No longer chasing relics, he now embodies them, living proof that adventure doesn't end, it deepens. The eternal heartthrob of St. Elmo's Fire, Rob Lowe, now 61, still dazzles, but differently. His face, sculpted and smooth, shows more polish than age, his style crisp and deliberate. He leans into humor and hosting, embracing charm not as a lure, but as craft. With a tousled mullet and cheeky grin, Uncle Jesse ruled teen posters. Today, John Stamos wears his salt-streaked hair slicked back, his jawline softened, his swagger now calm. He's a dad, a drummer, and a devoted husband. Less rock star, more rock solid. Brandon Walsh knew right from wrong, and Jason Priestley made that collar-popping charm iconic. Now 55, his boyish looks have matured into sharp lines and calm eyes. He directs more than he acts, choosing a steadier spotlight behind the lens. He once smoldered through screens as Zorro, eyes blazing beneath that mask. Today, at 64, Antonio Banderas walks with quiet poise, his face marked by years of passion and resilience. A craftsman at heart, he speaks more with presence than swords. Once the slow-motion savior of Baywatch, sprinting across sunlit beaches, now 72, his strides are steadier, his smile deeper. The chestnut waves are silvered, but the showman gleam remains. He dabbles in music, nostalgia tours, and lives with the ease of a man who's danced with fame. Titanic's suave villain once cut through screens with that slicked-back menace. Now 59, he favors shaved heads and indie sets over blockbusters. The sharp jawline softened, eyes still piercing. He's traded leading man's sheen for artist's edge, painting between gigs and film cameos. Remember the brooding Bond who blended charm with storm? At 79, Dalton's tuxedo days are tucked away. His posture is regal, hair thin to a silver crown, voice rich with Shakespearean weight. He acts rarely now, opting for quiet, a garden, and books over shaken martinis or spycraft glare. From swinging through jungles to chasing mummies, Brendan Fraser's charm once crashed box offices. Now 56, with deeper eyes and broader presence, he swapped abs for awards, trading spectacle for soul, and reminding Hollywood how heart looks with history. Once the golden boy of British cinema, Jude Law glided through roles with silk and spark. At 52, his blonde halo has dimmed, his face etched with nuance. He still commands the frame. Less Prince now, more philosopher in tailored suits. Whether seducing in Sex, Lies, or scheming in Blacklist, James Spader always thrived in shadows. At 65, his once youthful cool has thickened into something sharper. Silver hair, deliberate speech, and a presence that whispers power without raising its voice. Once the smoldering heart of The Godfather Part 3, Garcia commanded with silent fire. Now 69, his curls are streaked with ash, his gaze more introspective than incendiary. The intensity remains, refined into wisdom. He splits time between acting, jazz piano, and family dinners far from the spotlight. Back in the 90s, he was the cool flame in Backdraft, with tousled hair and that cocky edge. Now 62, the swagger softened, the jawline weathered, the hair flecked with gray. He lends his voice to causes, his presence to smaller screens, and his days to quiet coastal living over Hollywood heat. Dead Poets Society sparked his rise. Now at 54, the boyish spark endures, tempered by decades of indie grit. Lines trace his face like verses. The tousled hair is tamed, not erased. He writes, directs, and mentors, wearing time like a well-loved script, filled with edits and earned applause. Highlander's immortal glare made Christopher Lambert a cult legend. At 68, the fire dims to a quiet glow. His once sculpted face weathered, voice raspier, gaze still distant. He lives mostly in France now, choosing privacy over the chaos he once conquered. Blade cut through the 90s with fangs and fury. Wesley Snipes was lethal cool. At 62, the fade is silver, the eyes just as fierce. He swapped martial arts for mindfulness, splitting time between indie projects and spiritual retreats. He once brooded through Felicity and sprinted with werewolves. Now 49, Scott Speedman wears his age like a well-cut jacket, shorter hair, stronger jaw, a father off screen and on. Still acting, but with a depth the 90s never asked of him. He once ruled screens as the brooding heartthrob of Armageddon and Good Will Hunting. Now 52, the square jaw bears time's etchings, and the eyes hold more story than swagger. The Batman bulk has leaned out. The grin is more guarded. He writes, directs, and fathers with quiet, weathered grace. From floppy-haired charm in Notting Hill to scene-stealing gravitas, Grant's evolution is pure British theater. Now 64, the dimples are softer, the hair a refined silver mist. He dodges rom-coms for layered roles, revealing a man less enchanted by love, more intrigued by complexity. He roared into the 90s as Schindler's List's reluctant hero. Now 72, the towering frame bows slightly, voice deeper, eyes wearier yet wise. The fists have taken rest now, mostly. He picks his scripts with care, favoring solitude, memory, and the hum of Ireland over the bang of blockbusters. Robin Clooney's Batman, Chris O'Donnell once wore spandex and stole hearts. At 54, the clean-cut charm remains, though the boyish grin now lines with steadiness. On TV sets more than red carpets, he's traded flash for family and consistency. As Wesley in The Princess Bride, Cary Elwes made fairy tales feel real. Now 62, his golden locks are faded, his wit sharper than ever. With a gentleman's poise and storyteller's flair, he leans into legacy, more raconteur than rogue these days. His eyes once smoldered with mystery in The Usual Suspects. At 58, Benicio del Toro still moves like a man half-hidden. Hair wild, voice gravel-thick. Less heartthrob, more haunting presence, he chooses roles like riddles, each one darker and deeper than the last. In Jurassic Park, he guided us through chaos with a gaze both fierce and kind. Now 77, the hair is white, the stance gentler, but his voice still carries that scholarly calm. Between roles, he tends his vineyard, choosing grapes and grandkids over red carpets and roaring dinosaurs. Once the sharp-suited force in Glengarry Glen Ross, Baldwin ruled with smirk and thunder. Now 67, his face is fuller, eyes thoughtful, beneath winter-gray hair. He shifts between screen and scandal, but still finds footing in fatherhood, podcasts, and the uneasy grace of reinvention. Footloose made him a rebel icon, now 66. The hair is sun-flecked straw, the limbs lean but slower. That wiry spark lingers, channeled into music gigs, character roles, and wry self-parody. He embraces the past with a wink, aging like a tune you can't forget, just remixed in a lower key. The mustache that launched 1,000 daydreams. Tom Selleck was Magnum in motion. At 80, the chestnut mane is silver, the stance more stoic than swaggering. Now a rancher at heart, he trades action for acreage, still iconic in quiet ways. Behind the bar at Cheers, Ted Danson made sarcasm stylish. Now 77, his once dark hair glows white, but his comedic rhythm is sharper than ever. With years etched into his smile, he's become a statesman of sitcoms, aging with bold precision. He soared in The Rocketeer, all chiseled jaw and clean-cut daring. Now 65, the jetpack's long retired, traded for saltbeard and serene poise. Lines map his face like sky trails, and though he steps away from fame's spotlight, he crafts roles with quiet depth from his home by the sea. From The Shawshank Redemption's stoic dreamer to Hollywood's thoughtful outlier, Robbins, now 66, stands taller still, though age has rounded his frame and softened his edge. The fire's not gone. It flickers in activism, directing, and the jazz-like rhythm of a life lived deliberately. Say Anything gave us the boombox rebel. Now 58, the trench coat's gone, replaced by darker roles and a heavier gaze. His once boyish face holds the weight of politics, time, and indie scripts. He sidesteps nostalgia, choosing depth over charm and shadows over center stage. ThenVsNow Legends is feeling a bit lonely. 99% of you haven't subscribed yet. Show us some love and hit that subscribe button so we can keep bringing you the jaw-dropping journeys of your favorite stars. And if you're as fascinated by then and now glow-ups as we are, check out our previous videos. Trust us, they're totally worth your time and ours too.